All righty, folks. Welcome back to another episode brought to you by us, friendly people who simply want to invite you to learn about what's happening around the world as far as politics, both local at the city level, the county level, which, by the way, things are getting really crazy out there. But it's politics. And we'll have that conversation here in a little bit. Of course, statewide, we're looking at all the races. There are some key ones that we're looking at. If you're watching us from northeastern Amarillo up there, we want to pray for all of you. I know the fire situation this past week was terrible, and then they've got a cold front that's dropping in a whole lot of snow up on the northern part of Oklahoma. So we're praying for all those folks. But if you're listening to us from East Texas, out there near Dade Phelan, Covey, uh, future hopefully representative, I think he's going to win. He certainly has all the endorsements. But if you're watching us from Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, welcome to the show. I'm Raul Reyes, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, having a good time here with all of you. Doing a quick mic check with Linda Ruski. You hear me good or not? Let's see if we make sure we're all okay here. And it's understood that the last time we were on, things got a little blurry with the Facebook live, and so that happens. I think it's purposeful. They try to throttle us down. You can always go to the YouTube, just look for the R2 show, which stands for the Raul Reyes Show. You can see the sign back there. And we're also on Twitter. Just look up Raul Reyes. You can't miss me with my cowboy hat on there. Looking pretty good on that, by the way. And so jump on there, check us out. So let's get into some of the politics. And, I busted out this hat. How many of y'all ready to wear this? And look at this. This is from the 2020 version. So there it is. This way. I always get it backwards. How many of you are ready to see the Trumpster come back? And I don't mean that impolitely. That's just my way of just. I to this day have a special endearing for the man. You can't be. I mean, This guy's just been literally run over by a few buses and a few lawsuits. Actually, quite a bit of lawsuits. Which, by the way, he won in Colorado. Did you see the news on that? The Supreme Court said 9-0, 9-0. He's got to stay on the ballot. And so, if you're that lawyer out of New York that's trying to prosecute him before the November election, I think it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So they're going to have to look for alternative ways to stop them. And we've said this before, as also the left, they have to take him out. And you can apply whatever words you want with that. That's what they've thrown the law at him. They've thrown the Supreme Court at him. They've thrown Russian collusion at this guy. And I mean, he just keeps coming and just keeps coming. Now, I'm going to tell you straight out that twice he's endorsed our opponent, but I still find that I've got a special place for a guy like Donald Trump. You can't rise from the ashes, just run your business, become a billionaire, live in the high rises in New York, turn around, give it all up to put up with this crap. and if of course, if any of you have endeared to be in politics, you know what I'm talking about. It's just you're going to find out who your friends really are. And there's a story that says that Donald Trump, when he was coming down the elevator to the escalator where he stood and announced in 2015, that he turns around and looks at Eric Trump, his son. He says, "We're about to find out who our real friends are." And boy, this is a guy that hung out with Hillary and Bill Clinton and a whole bunch of folks because, they're New Yorkers. Excuse me. By the way, I do have my Marco Rubio emergency water ready to go. We're not advertising for anybody, so I turned the label purposely this way. But if you went to Walmart, you could find these. So, but I'm glad to have you. We're having a conversation about, this is really it says keep America great, make America great. And I think I've got a new one. I stole it from somewhere. I don't really when it comes to memes, I'm not too original, although I have a lot of ideas. But I think, how about make America America again? Because folks, we're in serious trouble here. And you've got Nikki Haley still out there. And there's a reason for that. They're trying to drain his resources in and of course try to get him to just, you know, something will happen to Trump, and then Nikki Haley by default will be the nominee for the Republican Party. Everybody's already saying, why is she still there? Why is she still there? And this is the point tonight. If you're not seeing the obvious signals, the obvious signals, then we can't help you, because I'll start at the state level here in Austin. 60 60 Republicans voted to impeach the only guy that I think in the entire America, the entire nation of the United States, was taking it to Joe Biden. 60 Republicans impeached that guy, and they sidelined him for about a year and a half, maybe two, and then they went to this, you know, trial, which was ridiculous. You have the lieutenant governor. By the way, he did a great job. I always punch that guy around because I have my different druthers about him, but he did a great job. But he's not a judge, you know. He's doing the best he can, and we're watching the absurdity of the Republican Party trying to implode itself. I mean, by the way, these are the same people that support Nikki Haley, are the same ones that are going to look at you, that have been doing that now, and they are just berating you because you called them rhinos. They absolutely hate you that you challenge the establishment, and they don't think they're the establishment. They've just been around the longest. Oh, be quiet, keep it red, let's go. This is the guy we want. Nobody say anything, and when you start to ask questions, um, boy, they just come down on you. This is America. You have a reserve right to ask any questions, especially at the county levels. We had a few things pop up. Everybody who doesn't know, I'm out here in Medina County. We had a few things here in the last couple of days. West Riddell popped in saying, "Hey, why are they moving the rooms for counting?" And a whole group of people just go nuts about, why are you asking these questions? Well, everybody should be asking questions. This is America. You don't like it, then you're probably part of the problem, and or you have an alternative motive. Here's what I say to all of that: it's politics, and they reserve the right to chastise you in politics, but you reserve the right to tell the truth and expose it, and vice versa. And this is the way it's been forever and ever. I think there's a lot more at risk, of course, because we are, I think, in some existential times. You can't have these, you know, everybody's now throwing this 8 million illegal alien number out there, folks. If you believe that, I've got oceanfront property in Arizona I'd love for you to look at, because we're well over 10 million, maybe even 15 million people that have come into this country, and they purposely, the media, keep those numbers down. And they do it, why? Because they want you to believe, oh, it's only 8 million. What if you woke up one day and realized it was 40, 50 million? We're only 333 or 337 million people in this country. Do you see? So when you bring another 10%, 30, 40, and they don't tell you, it literally changes the American culture. I didn't say Hispanic culture, I didn't say black culture, the Asian American does, I didn't say the Irish. No, what I'm saying to you is that whole melting pot is glued together by an American culture that, if we're not careful, will happen to us like it happened in France, where, guess what? It doesn't look like France anymore. And England doesn't look like England. And they're putting Palestinian flags up in places that you would never, ever think that that would happen. And all the while, I've said this before, everybody, look, I get it. Everybody's trying to pay the bills. Everybody's trying to get, you know, survive this inflation, and a whole lot of other things, but it's only going to get worse. You can't be $33 trillion in the hole with there's absolutely no way, I think, that we can pay that. I mean, somebody give me the plan, especially when we keep sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. That's still happening. So a lot of things, moving parts, a lot of parts. And broke this out right here because I want to make a point here. I'll be. My sister gave me this back in 2020 when we were running for Congress, and I've hold it, you know, very dear to my heart. I wear it minimal because I want it to last. You could give me a 2024 if you want. You could graciously send it to me. I'll give you an address if anybody's got one. I love this one because I still believe in Make America Great Again. And again, this is not worshiping Donald Trump. This is what I'm saying to you is. Uh, one man has stood out there to fight against the establishment, and he's done a couple of things I don't really that worry me a little bit, like supporting Ronna McDaniels, who is going out the door 9 March. 9 March, Ronna McDaniels is out. Now, why 9 March? Because it's Super Tuesday. So I suspect she wants to get some of her rhino friends in, even though Trump is helping her. All these people are backstabbing Donald J. Trump in the back. A lot of them are. And then, of course, the we've got a few people that in November have decided. We call him Glitch McConnell because he can't get in front of the podium. He just freezes. He's done it more than once. Sort of like Joe Biden, he sort of has to be told where to do and where to go. Dianne Feinstein, she literally voted in the Senate 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago now. The next day, she's dead. These people want to die in their seats. So that's a worrisome thing because guess what? Who's making these decisions? So all that said, Glitch McConnell is what I meant to say, will be retiring in November. Why November? And we all applauded like a bunch of seals, burp, burp, and but why? We demand that that guy be removed right now because instead of helping America secure the border, his number one thing was to send more money to guess who? Ukraine. Ukraine of all the places for whatever, and it to me it's a money laundering scheme out there because this is what happens. You say 100 billion to Ukraine, they're lucky to get 10% because the rest is just it just sort of diverted everywhere else. So you should worry. You should worry when your congressman goes to Ukraine. The one here from CD23 was in Ukraine right before the war kicked off, but we can't pin that guy down because he won't meet with us. He won't talk to his constituents. Sure, he'll set up all these photo ops. By the way, this is the kick Tony Gonzalez part, in the butt. So if you want to fast forward because you're watching this recorded and you just fast forwarding, just know that I do about 10 minutes of wiping the floor with Tony Gonzalez. So by the way, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a runoff. And I'm going to call it right now. If there's not a runoff, there's just something crazy going on. How many of you gotten the ads from Tony Gonzalez when you're on Facebook and the veterans and some of these other things? There's 1,200 comments in the advertisements. And I'm telling you, 95% of them are no good. And these are all different people. These aren't the same profiles going in there. This is everybody who has the one I hear the most is I voted for you last time. It's never going to happen again. You have to go. So that is happening across the board in all of Texas, everywhere. Now, I want to bring in a couple of notes here for all of you who are, we're tracking some of the election numbers here, and over the Friday, Saturday, when early voted ended, early voting is done with. Tomorrow's the big day. You haven't figured out why we're here. Tomorrow, we need you to go and vote. But the numbers are really, really low. Now, who predicted that? Your host right here at Raul Reyes. I said this a while back that no kidding, that what's going to happen is there's going to be a really low voter turnout in the Republican primary for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of patriots out there, myself included, we don't trust the elections. So if you hear me out harping, it's you're talking to the guy who lost his election in the middle of the night. I don't really bring it up a lot, but the bottom line is we whooped our guy. You know what I'm saying? By 10 o'clock, we had that guy spanked and he was out the door. But in the middle of the night, they find a whole bunch of ballots from mail-in, and you're looking at the guy who lost by 7 votes. I say that because you can't let that happen again, or you're going to have all these Tony Gonzalez, these Mitch McConnells, John Cornyn's out there. By the way, if you didn't know this too, John Cornyn is now running for Mitch McConnell's position to replace him. And I wrote, I think on Twitter, man, we won't vote that guy for dog catcher, much less senator of the great state of Texas again. How many of you are really going to do that? And I wish I had loaded up the video, but if you go to True Texas Project or some of these other Republican pages, you're going to see, and I was there, they booed John Cornyn for like 12 minutes. It was the most horrible thing. I give him credit for one thing. He finished his speech, even though they booed him all the way through. Oh, there's 8,000 people in that auditorium, folks. And he walks in with his wife like they're going to adore him and love him. And as soon as people saw, the entire place erupted with boos. He walks his wife around uh, and for 2 minutes, hoping that it would calm down. He kisses her. She goes off into the backstage. He tries to get a speech going. He can't start because the boos are so loud. They finally settle down a little bit. They booed him anyway throughout the entire speech. The only credit I give John Cornyn is that he finished the speech. So, I mean, that's about the only credit he's going to get from me. Period. End of story. But John Cornyn is pretending like he's not a problem in Texas. A lot of our Republican elected officials are doing that too. Tony Gonzalez is one of them. Dan Crenshaw out in Houston, he acts like he doesn't have an opponent. So either they're seeing the polls and we're really not smart and they're going to get reelected, or there's some shenanigans going on, kind of like Joe Biden. Remember, he was in the basement forever. Trump's running around doing 100,000 people rallies, filling in the stadiums, and supposedly Biden beat him by like 10 million votes or some whatever crazy number it is. Don't believe it for a second. The whole thing was fixed. You can't prove it because it's legitimized by the law. You can mail in ballots and on and on and on and on. All that said, tomorrow is a big day. You've got to get out to vote. So if you sat it out during the early primaries, not blaming you, not chastising you, what I'm saying is make time tomorrow to get on with the program. Get yourself plenty of time to vote. Because if you show up at 5, what happens is you're going to show up and you're more likely going to see the long line and not going to wait. Back to the numbers. I predicted that because I predicted there's going to be a low voter turnout for a couple of reasons. The Roland Gutierrez and Colin Allred fight in the Democrat primary is keeping a lot of Democrats in their lanes. So I think that's one reason you don't see a lot of people. Now that's bad for a bunch of rhinos because they bank on Republicans getting rhinos being helped by a bunch of Democrats. That happened in the Jill Dutton and Brent Money race about a month ago. Remember, they had that special representatives race, and he got beat by like 100 votes or something. And the answer is Democrats came in and pushed her in. They're up for re-election again, which is weird. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but they did it. All that said, the Democrat primary for state or for Texas senator to take on Ted Cruz in November is a big one, keeping Democrats in their lane. The other big one, Donald J. Trump. See, everybody sees the whooping he put on everybody. And by the way, I like Ron DeSantis, so I'm not disparaging him when I say that. What I'm saying, he's beat out all his opponents. He did it the last time. Remember, there was 18 of them. Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, who we push his water here. Not for sale. I have to drink that. But all these people, he cleaned house in 2016 with them. 2020, they was really unopposed, and this time around, he had a few people like Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott was in there, I think, and then of course now you still have Nikki Haley. So he's crushed them, and I think the Republican base is saying, good. As long as he's there in November, that's when I'm going to go vote. So a lot of people are not voting in the primary, which is why from day one, 2 weeks ago, I said, we're going to be on here encouraging as far as we can reach out to tell people, go out and vote, because this is where you get the critters out. The bed bugs got to go. And the way you eliminate the rhinos is you've got to get in there, go vote in the primary. Because by November, if a guy like Dan Crenshaw's in there, then the establishment starts to rally the entire base with, you've got to go vote and you got to go vote. And some people who I know are really patriotic, they're diehard conservatives, but in November, even if their guy doesn't get over, they're going to go vote Republican, even though that Republican really acts like a Democrat, like Tony Gonzalez. Okay. So don't stay home. You've got to get out and vote tomorrow. We're all over the place, but that's okay. I know you're smart folks and you can follow me because smart people listen to our podcast. But you know who can't wear this hat right here? Tony Gonzalez, because he stabbed Donald J. Trump in the back with January 6th. And guess who was down in Eagle Pass? Donald J. Trump. Where was our representative? Why? When Donald Trump goes to any district if they're good Republicans, like solid Republicans, real conservatives, real constitution that weren't never Trumpers when he was in the office, he invites them, he brings them up, and he says, "Get this guy reelected." Not once has Donald Trump endorsed, pushed, or asked for anybody to look towards Tony Gonzalez. In fact, I think they keep him away because that's just trouble. And I'm told that Tony Gonzalez was preferring to be down where Joe Biden was in Brownsville because, well, I don't know why, other than he's probably a Democrat. You know else who can't wear this hat right here from my local Medina and Bandera, and then of course up to Junction and McCamey, Texas, up there, up in Upton County, McCullough County down there in Brady. You know who can't wear this hat? Hatch Smith. Do you know why? Because Donald Trump endorsed our guy Wes Verdell. You see, and so if you're voting for Hatch Smith, then you're the problem. You see, because you're listening to your former county GOP chair or your former county judge who really has other endeavors and they're not good. So how do we get the country back? Get these patriots here. Donald Trump has pointed out to them. He's not always going to get it right, but in this case he has. And the way we know, I said I started this whole thing with there's a litmus test. 60 Republicans voted to impeach Ken Paxton. Okay. Donald Trump has practically, and I think he has endorsed every single one of the Ken Paxton endorsements. Okay. Now, I've put up, pictures of, and I'm gonna bring it up again because inquiring minds want to know, and this is what we do here. We want to know what's behind the veil here. And if I can bring it up real quick, I've asked this question here: why is our Texas State Senator Pete Flores endorsing Hatch Smith? I'm gonna say it to you one more time. The guy that's been endorsing our race is right here, Wes Verdell. You see, and so if you're endorsing Hatch Smith, why would that happen? And I might do a little correction here with Dan Patrick, although I still believe that the senator here was doing the dirty deeds for Dan Patrick, because I've always said from 3 or 4 years ago, it looks like the Texas State Senate wants to say they're conservative, but they know that the House is going to kill all the bills that they don't really want to get turned into law. You see, and how does this happen? You got this senator here. This is supposed to be a Republican in Senate District 24, right? And he got the Trump endorsement, and he's out pushing Hatch Smith, who has never voted in the Republican primary. So to all my local friends here, Bandera, if you're pushing this guy, you need to really rethink about this, because really you're not on board with you're not going to be on board with this. You're just not. I mean, I don't know how you vote for the guy who wasn't endorsed by Donald Trump. I think we're going to keep America great. It starts at the county level, folks. And so if you're pushing that guy, you're probably a Democrat, or there's an alternative motives. And by the way, some of my friends in Medina County are doing that. It's not a harsh. What I'm saying to you. Do you really want to make America great? Then on the local race here in Medina, down to Bandera, listen to that guy. Listen to this guy. He's right here. You see, and of course, I could put up 1,000 pictures, but our guy literally, I mean, he has all the endorsements. Let me put this one up here. And for all of you who are outside of that district, I'm making a point here. And the point is this: throughout all the state, we have a situation always where there's a true patriot like Wes Verdell, okay? And or Bianca Gracia out in Houston. John Perez, my Lord, that guy is on fire out there in Houston, taking on the incumbent. And all they can do is throw negatives at people. But look at this, Ted Cruz. If okay, you don't like Ted Cruz, what about Chip Roy? That's a solid conservative Republican. Sid Miller, love that guy. I mean, these are conservatives, and there's Ken Paxton. And so I'm going to make my point one more time here. Look, uh, when you have someone like the senator going for Hatch Smith, that should tell you everything. So next time, if I run against the senator, let's remember that, or somebody else does, remember that we're not instigators. what we're saying is you can't pretend to be one thing and then lie to us and then tell us to go vote for somebody else, because every Republican that is pretty solid, Ted Cruz, Chip Roy, Ken Paxton, Miller, the Trumpster, the man himself, has reached all the way down into all the Ken Paxton's endorsements and said, these are the people I want. And guess what? They Trump got on board. And the reason, I'm going to segue a little bit here back to Abbott, Peter Flores, and Dan Patrick, is if you've been listening to me here, I've been beating up not just the senator for endorsing Hatch Smith, because we want to timestamp this. When I get a chance and we're in a public, politely, I will ask, why would you endorse against Trump? You see, were you doing Dan Patrick's behind the scenes dirty deeds? And because I can't prove that, and it not may be the case, because here's what I'm starting to realize is the senator is off the reservation for Abbott. You know who hasn't endorsed West Verdale? Who hasn't endorsed not by the way, some endorsements of Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott has endorsed, but a lot of them he hasn't. And guess who I think the senator's doing the dirty deeds for? Greg Abbott or Dan Patrick. Either way, the senator is off the reservation by himself or for one or the other, or maybe for both individuals, because this is how you control what really happens in Texas. They want control of the House of Representatives. And so that's kind of where we're at today. We're literally, we're everywhere. In the CD23 race, of course, we've got Frank Lopez, Julie Clark, and of course Brandon Herrera is out there. Victor Avila, who I know from a while back, who it lives in Dallas but has come down here to run in CD23. They're all on there. Let me tell you something. Let's go to CD23 for a second. There's gonna be a runoff, and because you can't see all the stuff that I've seen and realize that Mr. Gonzalez is going to win this flat out. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me. It's the first time in history he comes in third place. And remember, not enough Democrats are coming over to vote in the Republican primary. The numbers are super low. Now tomorrow, what happens is, generally speaking, 50% of the vote flows in on Tuesday, on election day. So whatever the numbers are, and of course our trusty sidekick Linda Ruski got really sidetracked and busy and a little ill, on a little cold she has. So we weren't able to bring those data. I hope to have them tomorrow. We're going to be here live, probably starting probably 6:30 as things start to pop in, and we'll start to see where the numbers are, not just here local in Bexar County, Austin, and SD24 out to El Paso. Remember, we are Texas wide, trying to go nationwide with this podcast about the things that are happening. Either way, we're just having fun informing folks. And so we do generally cover I-35 all the way back into Amarillo and down into El Paso. So you ask me anything about that, we're going to be right on the money. A little tougher into the east part of Texas and then into the Texarkana east of Dallas, Texas, because there's heavy population in Houston. There are a couple of races we're tracking there, but we're going to be focusing in on I-35 to Austin, back into the west, into El Paso, watching CD23, HD53, some other key races that are out there, with a few spot checks out in Houston just to see where things are. Because our biggest thing is, will the 60 Republicans who impeached Ken Paxton, are they going to be eliminated? And the answer is, I don't know. A lot of another reason, we already said that one of the key reasons Republicans aren't really coming over is, as long as Trump is the nominee, they're going to be thumbs up. But everybody knows, if we can't get the Rhino, the establishment crowd, out in the primaries, and they go into the November election, I've known people that just go in there and go vote for Trump and leave everything else blank. Those are what they call under ballots or undervotes, and that means a lot of little sections for different districts get left blank. They just get left blank. And that's it. People don't want to vote for anybody else. They don't like anybody else. They just like Trump, you see. And there's nothing wrong with that, except we have to encourage people to go vote for, in this case, the people that Donald Trump has endorsed. Ken Paxton has been phenomenal, on fire, just working hard for everybody. And I say that because my good friend Bianca Gracia out in Houston, who he endorsed, he didn't just show up to support her once. He went block walking with her. He's been on videos with her. And so that's happening across the state, because Ken Paxton means business. He's trying to eliminate the people that try to impeach him. Now, some of you go, well, he needs to because, his morals. And listen, folks, all I can tell you is we need fighters that are taking on the federal government who have just literally put their thumb on the backs of our necks and have forced us to do things that we absolutely never wanted to, like close our churches and make us wear our kids wear masks, get vaccinated. Things in Texas are more purple, and most people know, and part of it is because we keep electing people like this guy here, that just absolutely has been on the wrong side of things. Here he is supporting Hatch Smith. He supported Ryan Guillen, who, remember, Ryan Guillen, guys, was a 20-year Democrat, and then all of a sudden he was going to lose his election in his district, so he jumps over to the Republican Party, and guess who comes to his aid? Senator Pete Flores. So, and by the way, Ryan Guillen is one of the voted to impeach Ken Paxton. And again, what I'm saying to you is nobody's perfect. Donald Trump isn't perfect. Ken Paxton isn't perfect. But neither are a lot of the folks that are known as heroes, because they've taken on evil in this world, and there's always forgiveness for those people. So we have to support folks like Ken Paxton, Donald J. Trump, because they are the people for the times. And so tomorrow, again, I'm going to say it a million times before the podcast is over, get out and go vote, and take your abuelita and your abuelitos and your tias and your tias, those are aunts and uncles, everybody, go out and vote. And look, let me just say this for all those that are starting to see, I mean, the mailers are just, I mean, they're all over the place. Look at this, and they're just. I must have gotten 20 of these from, just different candidates everywhere, and of course some of them are just horrible. They're just, they put these dark color on their faces and all that. You have to be uh, you have to be who you have to be, and that is a good constituent, a researcher of the truth and who you're going to vote. This, I think we did a really good job, folks. I'm telling you right now. I've had countless people just email me or count me and going, "Hey, thanks you for telling us who we need to vote. I've done my research." And some people have come back and said, "Look, I'm not going to vote for Christian Craddock because I'm going to go with the other guy." Good. You want fresh blood? Good. You do your research, go with it. We've put up some, not endorsement, but just some suggestions, because we want you to go out there. Now, we have endorsed Frank Lopez in CD23, and we're asking you to vote for him. We obviously like West Verdell, so we want you to vote for him. If you're listening out in Llano County, I know there's another good man out there running as well, a local. Nothing against him, but from a research, Marcus Cantu out in Llano, Texas, is just a phenomenon. He's the justice of the peace, trying to be the sheriff, doing fantastic out there as well. And so get out and vote. I know you're out there, you're worried about the country. The only way this is going to happen, right? Because now we're at Keep America Great. I think we're now back to, make America America again. That's what we're going to have to do. And the way you do that is you got to go vote. With all that said, a lot of things happening nationwide. I don't think Democrats know what they're going to do with Joe Biden. Remember, here a few months ago, there was a plan to maybe remove Kamala Harris or remove Joe Biden and replace him with a Newsom. Remember, the governor of California? Well, that blew up in their face, and let me tell you why. Because they ran poll after poll after poll. It turns out people hate Gavin Newsom more than they do Joe Biden. He's only ruined all of California, right? And so Texas is growing, it's booming, and a lot of it is because a lot of Californians are moving to Texas looking for respite and a refuge from taxes. I lived in California for 4 years when I was active duty, and I'm glad I was shielded by being in the military, because they literally tax 65% of all your income. This is why people go out there. It's like, oh, I'm making 200,000. I'm like, well, you're only going to keep like 80,000 of it, because 60% of it is going to state and then federal taxes. But that's every liberal state in the nation. Illinois, New York. New York is a mess, by the way. During COVID, what they realized was that a lot of people can work online and be more productive, and a lot of you telework to this day because of that. And so all these high rises and big real estate properties have been diminished. And so when you look at a lot of folks, they're leaving New York for sunnier, good times in Florida. I think if you come to Texas, welcome to Texas. Just don't bring your politics here. Although people are realizing that things aren't as red as one would might think. Last one, and then we'll kind of wind it down a little bit here. But Trump went to Eagle Pass. The only thing that scared me is that they were asking Greg Abbott, if he's going to be, is he on the list or the short list for VP? Practically screaming at the TV. I'm like, hell no. And because this is a governor who I think is part of a different establishment system. Certainly, he's a World Economic Forum member. That should tell you everything. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you, if you're a member of the devilish, evil WIF, WEF, then you don't need to be leading anything in Texas. Okay, and I think this is why Trump is gone with Ken Paxton and not so much with Dan Patrick. Now in public, they're going to look at me one day and go, "I got Donald Trump does what I say," and that kind of thing with Dan Patrick, because video after video after video, or even letters that gets mailers that get sent. Dan Patrick makes it a point to say, as Donald Trump's point of contact, or man in Texas, because that's really Sid Miller's title, but as his coordinator for the Trump administration in Texas, I fully endorse all these people. Well, he did it well after Trump did it, and a lot of it has to do is because I think he and or Abbott want people like Hatch Smith, you see, to be back in the legislative body. And why? Because they're going to reelect Dade Phelan, and the Texas lawsuit reform folks. They're out there dropping money like they're like their money bags. So you gotta go and vote. And again, go get your hat like this. This is a rally cry. Again, this isn't so much worshiping. We're not worshiping at all Donald Trump. But if we're gonna keep this country, we're gonna have to go out and fight for it. I think this time around, Donald Trump has endorsed the right folks because he's listened to Ken Paxton. I want to be clear with that. Okay. And I don't know why the senator, and by the way, other senators are doing the same. They were out grabbing other candidates, and people were asking, why are you throwing other candidates into a race? We've already picked a good patriot. And a lot of these folks are businessmen, they're former military people. Uh, they've been, Republican county chairs or SREC chairwomen or chairpersons or chairmen, and somehow that's not good enough. You can't be a solid Republican. The establishment doesn't want that. You can be a solid puppet, and guess what? Boy, they'll cater to you all day long, like Hatch Smith here. And I think Hatch Smith here, along with a lot of other representatives, are being recruited by guys like Senator Flores here. Guess what? They're literally they're clueless. They're clueless, and that, but that's what they want. You see, and we need to start sending folks like Wes Verdell, Frank Lopez, folks to state and federal level that have the brain and the gumpture to take on people and say, no, we're not doing it like that anymore, because we're in the hole, $33 trillion, and we've got an establishment crowd hell bent on working against our freedom. So, with all that said, for the last time, tomorrow is Tuesday. It's a major, major day in America. It's a big, big deal. You've got to get out and vote, and make sure that you don't sit on the sidelines. You can't. We want to push for these folks here. Remember, if you see these three on your ballot: Gina Parker, Lee Finley, David Schenck, former honorable judge, these are the people we've got to get elected for the judge positions in Texas. I think there's 13 or 11 of them. I forget. And all but one, I think it was John Devine, by the way. John Devine was the only one I think that honorable Judge John Devine was the only one I think that voted uh, to give Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of all people, the ability to go follow voter fraud. That's like taking a Texas Ranger and say, look, anything you want, but don't go tracking drugs. We don't want you to mess with that. How does the Attorney General of Texas not prosecute voter fraud in Texas? And so then you have to ask yourself, well, those are Democrats. No, they're all Republican. All of them are Republican, and they voted to strip that away from the biggest law of the land of Texas, the great state of Texas. Not just Ken Paxton, but his office, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas, cannot prosecute voter fraud. Another key race we're going to be watching tomorrow is Steve Allison down here. He's running against Mark LaHood. Yeah, that is Nick LaHood's brother. They're in the San Antonio area. Go out and vote. Steve Allison, along with our representative out here, remember, in the western part of I-35, burn it down here to Brady, back down here to Bandera into Medina County. They voted to remove, they put this poison pill in, and then they put an amendment to the bill, the voter bill, that was going to solidify voter integrity in Texas. Steve Allison and Andrew Murr, who's not running again, Andrew Murstache, they're the ones who put the amendment that reduced the felony penalties in the voter bill down to misdemeanors. And yes, one more time, Republicans did that. Okay, and so I'm not a friend of those folks. That's why I always beat on Senator Pete Flores, because China can still buy land in Texas. There's nothing we can do to stop it. There's a law that's supposed to do that. Donna Campbell and, of course, Pete Flores, they touted this back in 2016, 2018, whenever he was a former Republican for SD Senate District 19, which got gerrymandered. And guess what? The Chinese Communist general found a third party, and he was able to buy that property out in Valverde County, right near Laughlin Air Force Base. And so we have wind turbines out there that create electromagnetic sphere that makes it not just dangerous for our rookie pilots out there, but leave a gaping hole in the defense of the radar system that is America. That is still true to this day. And supposedly Republicans changed that 4 years ago, and the answer is they passed like everything else, they passed the bills, they turn them into laws, but they're so weak that we are still to this day fighting DEI in our schools. You see, diversity, equity, and inclusion is still at A&M. It's still at UT. But if you look at Florida, old Ron DeSantis made it so that University of Florida doesn't have it. And fired the entire staff, got fired, recouped the money, and put it into something else. Texas needs to be like that. But unfortunately, we don't have the right governor. And I think we have a squirrely lieutenant governor who is playing around with things like this, because I still think, and again, I'm going to kick him around all I can, because this is our podcast. We can do whatever we want to here. But I think I always say the lieutenant governor is squirrely, because a lot of this is happening either unbeknownst to him, and I don't think that's the case, or with his knowledge, you see, because Abbott and him have, at certain places, they intersect interests, you see. And if you didn't know it, Medina County is one of the largest growing counties in the entire state. So if you go up to Frisco, Texas, that's another one. If you go to Spring, Texas, north of Houston, that's another one. So there's like 3 or 4 spots in the entire state of Texas that are just growing leaps and bounds, because people are moving into this area. It's a beautiful area. Frisco is a great place to live. Texas, north of Houston, is a great place to live. Just everything is good in those areas. People don't want to live in Houston. You see, they don't want, and San Antonio is a great place to live, but people are moving to the outskirts. Well, when you run out of room into Bandera and Comfort and Bernie, you finally realize that Castroville, Medina County, Hondo is a great place. This is absolutely fantastic. And so we're growing by leaps and bounds, but they want to have control of the representative, you see. And this is why here's a guy. Our guy here is endorsed by the Trumpster himself, Ted Cruz. Dan Patrick, thank you. He endorsed him, but I think he got pushed into it. And everybody, Sid Miller, good old Chip Roy, like that guy quite a bit too. But somehow the senator is out there in left field doing it all. This is happening across the entire state. Don't let them fool you. Mañana, you go vote local and take care of business. I think it's a yes to all the propositions. If you're asking me, somebody was texting earlier. Yeah, and remember, those are going to go back into the legislative body, and we're going to ask all our legislative folks to vote on those and turn them into laws. And those are sound propositions. Guess what? If you vote Hatch Smith, never going to happen. And Peter Flores will send a bill over to the House saying this happened, knowing that Hatch Smith would kill it because they're probably going to vote for him again. And what will happen is we're going to get Democrats positions, key committee positions that kill things that conservatives want in the great state of Texas. So a lot at stake tomorrow. A lot at stake tomorrow. You got to go out and vote. Don't sit it out. And then let's just personalize this a little bit for all the folks that are on the other side of the aisle. None of this should be personal. I always say take the emotion out, but it's a little tough when you're looking at the flag back there and people are burning it. How do you not get emotional with that? How do you not get emotional when you look at this guy here and you go, but you said you were a Republican. Why are you going against Donald Trump? You know, same reason Tony Gonzalez lied to us and said he was a border hawk, and he gets in bed with the NGOs and he stabs Trump in the back. We're here to remind you that if you're truthful to the politics, not just of your everyday doings, but of politics in America, left and right, Democrat versus Republican, liberals versus conservative, whatever the case may be, you have to be genuinely into researching and doing your due diligence, because part of keeping America great or making it great again is that we not let them minimize or diminish the U.S. citizenship, because the more legals they bring in, the more they look at us and they give us the middle finger and they tell us being a citizen means anything we want to do. We can bring in illegals, we can do whatever the heck we want to do, and you won't say anything about it. Well, tomorrow is your day to flip the middle finger back at them. If my pastor's watching, I apologize, but that's kind of how I feel. So when I tell you, keep the emotion out of it, I didn't say take your righteous indignation out of it. I said keep it calm and keep moving forward. Get everybody to go vote, and they understand who they're voting for. But if you're anywhere near these parts where I live and you're pushing Hatch Smith, you're on the wrong side, baby. That's all there is to it. Because we got the guy that says so, you see. And we don't, there's certain litmus tests here. This is one of them. He got it right here. Got it. He hasn't endorsed anybody in CD23. That means he doesn't like Tony Gonzalez. So go vote against that guy. I'm asking you to vote for Frank Lopez, but certainly go push for Julie and Brandon and Victor, who came all the way from Dallas down here to run in CD23. You decide which one you want. But the bottom line is, don't get over emotional and stress over these things. You have to be calm in the battlefield. And that's where we are right now. We are literally tomorrow. Pack your stuff, take your time, and go vote appropriately for godly, Christian, constitutional, conservative values. And I always say, look, vote the Bible. And I'm going to end it like this because I did this last time. Part of why King David, when he was a youth, went after and slung the rock at Goliath was because he insulted God. And so you need to wake up every day like you're being insulted because they've insulted God. You cannot look at me and tell me that Bruce Jenner, who was a national Olympic champion, is now Woman of the Year or whatever they made her, him, them, whatever. The case being is, be normal and don't be afraid to speak the truth to God's truth. And that's all there is to it. Tonight, I want to leave you with that and say God bless to all of you. We're going to be here tomorrow doing some numbers. Linda Ruski's getting herself all ready to go, vitamin D's and all that other stuff, so she can provide some information. I'll keep talking. We do have a few guests tomorrow. They're going to pipe in as well. But God bless all of you. Tomorrow, get up with a sense of urgency and a righteous indignation that one vote is gonna matter, because 7 of them kept this guy from being your congressman. I would have never let happen what happened on this border under the watch of Tony Gonzalez. He's a coward, he's a liar, and he's a traitor. but we have a lot of those in the state ledge and a lot of those in Congress and in the Senate seats. Let's get them out. Let's get them out. Let's go vote. And you guys have a wonderful day tomorrow. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. And we're going to start a little early. So we're going to probably roll about 6:37 as we watch everything come in. So don't be looking out for us at 8 o'clock. We're going to be in a little bit early. We might go in and out, just make sure we're not running 2-3 hour sessions here. But if we can, we will. And if we got enough guests, we'll just keep talking. So everybody have a good night. God bless and go vote.